Let's talk about why the British Prime Minister is in trouble. Boris Johnson and some of his senior officials are accused of partying in number 10 Downing Street while the country was locked down.
This is a business meeting!
And after 2 months of media leaks, the first official report about what went on has come out. It talks about failures of leadership and judgment, excessive alcohol consumption in the workplace, staff being afraid to speak out, and this is kind of the crux of Partygate, that the people at the top failed to meet even the basic standards expected of everyone else.
I want to say sorry. This is a moment when we must look at ourselves in the mirror and we must learn.
By routinely breaking the rules he set, the Prime Minister took us all for fools. He held people sacrificing contempt.
Either my right honourable friend had not read the rules, or didn't understand what they meant, and others around him, or they didn't think the rules applied to number 10. Which was it?
Undoubtedly, it's a question of ethics and honour.
So will Boris Johnson be forced to go? How might this all play out? To help explain why this is all such a big deal in the UK and why so many people are angry, let's dial it back to May 2020. More than 36,000 people had already died of COVID. Intensive care units were full and lockdown rules were strict. Socializing indoors with anyone from outside your household was banned, so families and friends were kept apart.
We've heard of horrific cases of young children who weren't able to hug their dying mothers, at the height of the pandemic and at the height of restrictions.
In mid-May, the government announced a slight relaxation in the rules, and ministers went on TV to push the message.
You can meet one person outside your household in an outdoor public place, provided that you stay 2 meters apart.
But it turns out that on the same day as that TV appearance, a senior official in Downing Street invited more than 100 staff to socially distanced drinks in the garden and told them to bring your own booze. And Boris Johnson has acknowledged that he was there, but that he thought it was for work.
Nobody said that this was something that was against the rules, that was a breach of the COVID rules, or we were doing something that wasn't a work event.
But that's just one example. The report that's just come out lists 16 gatherings.
Not only at number 10 Downing Street, the residence of the British Prime Minister, but also across government departments in an area of London known as Whitehall.
There were goodbye drinks for staff, a birthday party for the Prime Minister, and 2 gatherings in Downing Street the night before the funeral for Prince Philip, where the Queen sat alone as she buried her husband of 73 years. Now, this report was done by a Downing Street bureaucrat, Sue Gray.
A woman described in the past as the sleaze buster of Whitehall.
And her investigation became a big part of the story, because once Boris Johnson stopped denying outright that any rules had been broken, waiting for Sue Gray's report kind of became his main defense.
All guidance was followed completely during number 10.
What I can tell you is that all the guidelines were observed, continue to be observed. And all I ask is that Sue Gray be allowed to complete her inquiry. I've just got to ask people to wait for Sue Gray to report.
The thing is, we still don't actually have Sue Gray's full report. So far, it's just an update. And that's because the police decided to launch their own investigation. And they asked Sue Gray to hold back on any juicy details so it wouldn't compromise their work. We know now that police are looking into 12 of the gatherings, and the Prime Minister attended at least 2 of those. According to media reports, he was at others too. And another thing, Sue Gray gave the police a pile of evidence, including 300 photographs.
What we learned from this report above all was the extent of the Metropolitan Police investigation, which perhaps was much bigger than people were expecting. It's because of the police investigation that we don't know much detail, and that's giving the government something of a short-term lifeline.
It's a lifeline the Prime Minister appears to be hanging on to, and that his opponents are criticizing.
I urge him to reconsider upon full consideration of the inquiry. I suggest that she waits to see the conclusion of the inquiry. His best course is simply to wait for the inquiry to be completed.
He is hiding behind a police investigation into criminality, into his home and his office. He gleefully treats what should be a mark of shame as a welcome shield.
So what now? Well, the police investigation could drag on for months, but in the end, the worst anyone will get for breaking COVID rules is a fine, so no one's facing jail time. But Boris Johnson's job is on the line because his own Conservative MPs could decide to kick him out. That would involve what's called a vote of no confidence. To hold one, 15% of Conservative MPs, so 54 out of 359, have to write a letter to the head of a special committee. So far, only a few have said publicly that they've done that, but the process happens in secret, so we're never quite sure of the numbers. If a vote does happen, Johnson would need a simple majority to keep his job. But again, that's if it even happens.
It doesn't look as though the no confidence vote is going to happen in the near future, but it's very clear that the Prime Minister is on probation.
So he's promised to make some changes and follow Sue Gray's recommendations, including changing the management structure in number 10.
I get it, and I will fix it.
The question is, assuming that he can escape the clutches of the police, can he deliver what Tory MPs want to see in the way of a change of his style?
And that's really a big part of what this comes down to for Boris Johnson, his style of leadership. He's the big brash politician who won a huge majority in Parliament on a promise to get Brexit done. It's a style that's made him a vote winner.
Boris Johnson was essentially the man that united the Conservative Party's different wings and factions under one banner. The power of his personality was magnetic. Members of the Tory party, the Conservative Party, rallied around him, following his battle cry to get Brexit done, and he managed to do that.
But Conservative MPs are now weighing up whether Partygate and all the public outrage has damaged the Boris brand so much that he's now become a liability.
There is certainly anger out there, there is certainly distrust out there, and there is certainly a widespread feeling that he should go, although that is not a feeling that is universal amongst Conservative voters.
I think he's not fit to be in Prime Minister. I think he should resign.
I think it's a very disappointing lack of integrity in leadership, and that's really sad for our democracy.
If they'd been honest from the start, there wouldn't have been all of this hoo-ha. If they'd just said straight away, hands up, we're guilty, we've done something, people would have respected that.
He's been the best Prime Minister we've had for a long time, I think. There's worse things going on than him having a party.
And that's something that Boris Johnson and his allies are really trying to push, basically saying there are bigger things to worry about, like the threat of a Russian invasion of Ukraine. And he's been visiting Kiev for talks about that. And then there's all the other stuff going on back home.
We are facing another perfect storm of problems for the British public as well. We've got the rising cost of living, we've got soaring gas prices. People are really, really struggling to bounce back from the pandemic.
Of course, the government is hoping that the media agenda will move on. I think, however, journalists have decided that there is a sufficient issue of public interest here, that it is going to continue, not always at a high pitch, but it's not going to go away.
So the pressure is on for Prime Minister Johnson, from the police, the public, the media, the opposition, from his own Conservative Party. And there's pressure to release the full version of Sue Gray's report. Question is, can his political career survive? Hi, if you haven't already seen our recent explainer on what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, we've linked it here for you. In the meantime, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you don't miss our upcoming Start Here episodes. And I'll see you next week.